if you're seriously considering searching for the Holy Grail, you should hear the rumours surrounding your father. Deep within the Austrian-German border, there is a castle. A castle which houses a Nazi headquarters. And I must warn you, they're determined to find this Grail. And use the power for themselves, which will no likely end up in the world being controlled by these bastards. God damn it.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Real Podcasters. This is a weekly podcast where we discuss all things movies, TV shows, video games and a bunch of other things in no particular order. My name's Regan as ever and I'm joined once again by my decrepit Grail Knight co-host. It's Dan.
Me as a knight would just be a hilarious sight. Honestly, I mean, you're not wrong about the decrepit thing though. That's probably the only thing that was right in that insult.
So you haven't been guarding like a mug for 2,500 years?
No, I've just been guarding my room for the past like 24 years.
Fair enough. I'm not going to go into that. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you are a returning subscriber, obviously we really appreciate it. If you'll notice, the last couple of weeks we've been covering the previous Indiana Jones movies in the franchise, Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Temple of Doom, and we're back to cover
the Temple of...
No.
The Temple of...
No.
The Temple of...
No. No. Right. That's it. No. No.
They could just listen to that and just figure it out for themselves.
When I go into the edit, I'm going to be getting rid of the ums, the r's, the stammers, and the heart. I now have a fourth thing to get rid of. You can listen to our you can listen to our Temple of Doom one if you want any context. Was it the Temple of Doom or was it Raiders that started doing that?
It was Temple of Doom.
Crap. It was only a week ago.
Just after we did the ridiculous AI prompts and for some reason that cat meme made an entrance.
I don't know why. I don't know how.
I don't know either.
I can't remember who was the one who sort of instigated that. I kind of want to say it was you because you will not stop doing it. Every single day this week. There's just been a random message of, huh? I'm like, I want to open Messenger in the hope that you are actually talking.
Then it's actually something worth reading.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas now it's just stupid cats. We're talking about my favourite Indiana Jones movie with The Last Crusade, released back in 1989. So technically it's an anniversary this year, which I didn't mention for Temple of Doom last year. It's last week, not last year. 40 years old. Completely forgot it was 40 years old. Anyway, this one is...
Time flies, don't it?
No, this one is just 9 years older than me, so it's fine.
I mean, you are pretty old, like.
I called you decrepit at the start of this. And yet I'm
It's
older.
giving the Pirates of the Caribbean episode that we did.
Call me a cannonball one more time. I dare you. I double dare you. Again, if you want some context, you can go back to listen to our Pirates of the Caribbean ones. They were fun. No, we are talking about The Last Crusade, which I am very keen to hear Dan's thoughts on because in the last week or so, he has been through all the Indiana Jones movies. He did start sending me videos of The Last Crusade. Literally 5 minutes later, I started watching it. Dan, I'm ready to hear your damning verdict. At this rate, to quote...
I could just sort of like hear a little tremor in your voice there. Just a tiny one, though.
Let's just say, to quote MJ from Spider-Man No Way Home, expect disappointments and then you will never be disappointed. So hurry up and tell me that you don't like The Last Crusade.
Well, see, I've got no reason to not like The Last Crusade, though.
Cack. I was fully banging on you, be like, that's pretty good.
I think, well, we might actually think the same on this trilogy now, but I think Crusade is definitely my favourite one.
Bugger.
Then Temple, then Raiders.
Ooh, it gets kind of boring when we have the same opinions. We're gonna have to pick a different franchise next.
But absolutely for the darker... if I want more of a horror-ish Indiana Jones, then Temple of Doom is your answer. If I want something where I think it's kind of like the best version of Raiders, Last Crusade.
Yeah, I mean, I've said before, I mean, Last Crusade definitely stays closer to Raiders, which, you know, given the context we spoke about last week with how Spielberg really doesn't like the Temple of Doom, it's immediately obvious he's trying to echo Raiders while still doing his own thing. I mean, even down to the way that the title comes up on screen, it's the exact same font as Raiders, which is used again in Kingdom, and is used once again in Y. No, sorry, Dial. Sorry, I keep on getting those words mixed up. It's the rhyming, it's just exactly the same. Last Crusade definitely has like the visceral action of Raiders. It does have a bit of darkness from Temple, namely towards the end with Donovan, which we'll get to. But this one has the added bonus of the incredibly heartfelt story of Indy and his father, played by one James Bond, 007. No, sorry, James Bond. I'm getting that wrong every single time.
It's the best chemistry between characters, I think. I mean, Henry and his father is just the penultimate duel. I know, like, Short Round and Indy have probably the second best chemistry, but I mean, it doesn't top Indy and his father. I think that is just probably some of the finest chemistry between characters in a film ever.
I think I did say last week that I think I had Indy and Short Round as my favourite duo of the series, but I actually, rewatching it, I do think it is Indy and his father, because that's just a fascinating relationship between the two of them. I mean, you pick that up pretty much immediately with the opening scenes, featuring pretty bold choice of showing a young Indiana Jones played by the late great River Phoenix. I say great even though he died 23 or something, 24, really young, and it was absolutely awful.
Yeah, something like that.
What a piece of casting as well. I think as like a young Indy, I think that was such a stellar choice.
Spielberg nails the casting
once again. It's funny how we're actually joking about like casting and stuff, and I'm sure the Oscars just came out a couple of days ago from when we recorded this. I think they said from 2026 they're finally going to have a category specifically for casting.
I'm actually surprised they don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a no-brainer.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, that still doesn't really sell us on the Academy Awards. I can start off, but you know, it's nice to finally have. But that entire first scene featuring a young Indy, I love the way that they introduce it, where you think it's not actually a flashback; it's just a regular thing. Like you see a guy with a fedora and a leather jacket.
I will never ever stop laughing at the fact that character is called Fedora.
I didn't realize that until I played the Lego version of this on the
I know that's how I
on the
realized
Nintendo
as well.
DS. I'm like, why is he called Fedora? It's like, oh, it's the name of the hat. Why?
You couldn't just name him like
hat?
David or something. No, you just had to name him
Steve.
Fedora.
Keith. Yeah. But no, they do initially suggest that that's going to be Indiana Jones. Like, he's looking for another artifact. You pan down, you see his face. Oh, that's not Harrison Ford. Then you pan back up to the kid, and then you realize, oh, that's actually going to be young Indy. And, you know, we've said before, like, you can't replace Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones unless you chuck him into a computer for half an hour.
Just for half an hour.
Just for half an hour, 25 minutes tops, you know. And River Phoenix absolutely does a fantastic job, I think. I never used to be a fan of the opening scene, but I think it was initially when I was younger. I was like, oh, I don't like that Harrison Ford isn't Indiana Jones.
It's definitely
right
one
now.
of those things where I've appreciated it more with time. I think maybe as a kid, it's just the fact that I was so used to seeing Harrison Ford rather than River. I think that was just it, which seems awfully petty. But then again, you know, with age comes wisdom, I think.
We would like to think.
Yeah.
This opening scene also does things that I don't particularly like whenever they do any like prequel-esque stuff, because they already did this technically with another Harrison Ford character in a different franchise now owned by the same studio, Solo, where they just spend 2 hours just doing how he got his jacket, how he got his name, how he got his facial scars, how he got his gun. This opening scene also does the same thing, where it's like how he gets the whip, how he gets the hat, how he gets the mark on his chin. I usually would kind of hate that, but it actually works for this. Even just something like as trivial as down to like the scar on his chin. He can't just have it. There has to be a reason. Oh yeah, it was because he was trying to whip a lion. Of course he was. Couldn't have just like tripped over a brick or something. I'm like, oh no, I've just been hit by a brick.
No, it just had to be something incredibly dangerous, like falling into a lion's freaking train car and using a whip and then whipping yourself in the chin. Honestly, what I would do.
What does happen at the end of this story is, I think, one of my favourite transitions, I think, in film in general, when Fedora, puts the fedora on young Indy, he puts his head down,
Yeah.
comes back up, and it's just Harrison Ford again. I'm like, oh, that's such a good set, man. But even that next scene on the boat, I mean, I know we'll get favourite moments later on. It's going to be difficult to not pick a scene in this movie, quite frankly, because all of
Yeah, I
them.
was about to say.
But back to Indy and his father. I mean, Sean Connery being cast as his father is just perfect, to be honest. I mean, like we said before, talking about how Indiana Jones was created, Steven Spielberg wanted to do Bond, wasn't allowed, so George Lucas was like, it's fine, here's a guy in a hat, you could play with him for a couple of movies. Excellent. And then the opening scene for Temple of Doom is basically Bond. Now we have James Bond playing his father. It's like, it just reeks of just fan service and desperation, frankly, for those who love Bond. Stephen.
I can smell it.
Ugh. Smells as ancient as the Holy Grail he's searching for. But I do really like Sean Connery as Dr. Henry Jones Sr., which, to be honest, I have maintained that is my favourite performance from Sean Connery, full stop. I think it's way better
Yeah,
than
I'd
Bond.
say so too, actually.
And not just for the memes, because that character has now
Not
just
just for
become a
the memes.
meme. No. Even though we have been doing those memes literally since, 2018. Me and you
Something
were
like
just,
that, yeah.
just way too often. I could still remember back in the days at college, and you just randomly just like peer over when like I'm at the computer and just be like, Junior, it is you, Junior. How we passed college, I don't know how it's possible.
Oh, neither do I, mate.
But yeah, I mean, that relationship is really fascinating because they are very much at odds with one another, mostly because Henry absolutely couldn't give a damn about Indy's accomplishments in this entire film. He just looks angry. Like, even
He
down
does.
to...
He's always got like that face on. He looks a bit like an owl. Like, you can't tell if it's just pissed off or if it's just chilling. With Henry Sr., it's kind of like you always look a bit pissed off.
I just love it with the motorcycle sequence when, like, initially they're getting away and Indy's just, like, smiling to himself and he looks at his father and he just looks like an absolute...
Oh, yeah, and his
grimace.
father just has that, like, face on.
Like, I could have done that better. And he does eventually with the birds, which we'll get to later. Yeah, I had that one. But even down to there's a scene on the airship when Indy really wants to start talking to his father, and he's like, right,
I
what do you wanna
love
talk
that
about?
scene.
And he's like,
Yeah,
I
like, he
don't know
literally
what-
crumples the newspaper down and he's like, right, so let's talk. What do you want to talk about? And he's just like, what? But it's so smart because it's like, well, what are you complaining for then?
I mean, that's the thing, because I mean, it would be quite fascinating to see what would have happened if he actually treated his son with a little bit of, like, you know, acknowledgement, essentially, because it's clear.
Oh,
that
yes,
that's-
like, you actually are my son.
In fairness, when he like explains himself, he's like, "No, I taught you self-reliance, so you could just go about with things your own way." And I'm like, I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with it, but I'm not going to say it's right.
No, that being said, I think it's still one of my favorite father-son relationships in a movie. Full stop. It's just so fascinating, and it's got excellent payoff by the end because he's constantly calling him Junior. He's always talking down to him. And then he calls him Indiana when he's reaching for the Grail. And it's not just... It would be different if he called him Henry, which is his actual name. He calls him by the name that he prefers to be called, which is Indiana. And it's the only time you ever hear that. And I'm like, oh, man, the water works again.
The waterworks.
Stop it.
Much like with the friggin' the Grail's water, it's just dripping down my face right now.
One thing I did say last week when we were talking about Willie Scott, played by Kate Capshaw. This time we've got Elsa Schneider, played by Alison Doody. I did say that Elsa was my favourite sort of like love interest-ish of all of them, really. That absolutely stands by because it's a complete misdirect as to what you'd assume she'd be. It's like, oh yeah, she's just going to be the love interest. No, she's actually a Nazi. Well done, Stephen. Well done, George. You did it right this time.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of a 180 in terms of love interest.
But it's nice, though, because
you don't expect the betrayal.
Yeah, because I mean, there's parts of Last Crusade that definitely echo aspects of Raiders, and you can understand why from Steven Spielberg's perspective. But there is still enough here where it's like, yeah, we can do a bit of a, she's actually going to be the bad guy, and you're like, yes, get him. Because I would have gotten sick of.
He's not going to shoot her. She's a Nazi.
You just gotta love how he knows. She talks in her sleep, and you're like, Jesus, Sean. I mean, you were Bond and you got back out. No, you decided to go back in. Interpret that as you will.
Oh, God.
That joke went way over my head years ago. I was like, okay, so she's like a really loud snorer. No, she's not a loud snorer. No, little Regan, you'll find out when you're older. And even just the bit when she whispers into Indy's ear, where it's like, I can't forget how wonderful it was, and both of them respond.
Me neither.
But no, Elsa I do really like as a character, mostly because, I mean, she is in league with the Nazis for most of the film. You can tell how conflicted she is, because she is really there.
Oh, yeah, especially when it gets to the...
Specifically for the Grail.
Yeah. When the friggin' rally hits, and you can tell she's awfully conflicted.
Ooh, I'll sign this book that's clearly not the book I've been looking for years. Nah, it's fine.
Yeah, I've got questions with that. Yeah.
But to be honest, I mean, even watching, what was it? It was The Boys in the Boat recently, which also features Hitler in a more comedic sense. He just gets really, really, really angry. For some reason, this particular look for Hitler on the big screen has always been the one that's really stuck with me for some reason. But I think it is just because of the comedy with him, like, oh yeah, I'll just sign the autograph. Nah, it's fine. It doesn't matter what kind of book it is. And you're like, he just lost the book. This is why he's going to lose in 7 years. Because he was also his signature's crap. Such a mid signature.
I like it how that's the focus. The signature's crap.
This is terrible. It's awful. But no, obviously Elsa does get her comeuppance, as every villain does in these movies. Much like with Donovan, who is played by Julian Glover. If you're a Star Wars fan, you'll recognize him from The Empire Strikes Back as the dude in the AT-AT on Hoth.
The mechanical death horse. Or the mechanical... Well, it's more like a camel, really, isn't it?
I was thinking more like a dog. Although, whatever.
Some sort of four-legged death thing, we'll call it, right?
Regardless, either way, he was in one movie, here he is in another movie.
Again, his quest for power just gives him his comeuppance.
No, I do like him as a villain, especially with the fact that really all the villains are revealed in one scene with a big Donovan and Elsa and the Nazis within like 5 minutes of each other, which I actually quite like, to be honest. I mean, Donovan is quite clever in the sense that he did tell Indy to not trust anyone when he left, and he's like, yeah, Indy, you're an idiot. You should have seen right through that. You should have punched him in the face right there and then.
You should have never listened to him when he went to a stupid little house party. You should have just punched him in the face.
I mean, I would have done. Just like, I've been kidnapped. But no, obviously he does get his comeuppance when he picks the wrong Grail, because obviously he's an idiot. Although you kind of get the sense that Elsa was the one that actually sort of like, yeah, if you use that one, because she knows it'll probably kill him. And I'll be completely honest, I think I was always more freaked out with how he turns into a skeleton over the one in Raiders. I think it's done way better.
Yeah, it's a lot freaky-ish.
Mostly with Alison Doody screaming, which is nowhere near as bad as Kate's capsules, but it's there.
It's near Willie Scott's scream, that particular scream.
Yeah, it's just brief. It's that scene and the rats earlier on, that's about it. It's the only time she really screams. Yeah,
that's honestly it. Whereas Willie just screams for the majority of the runtime.
Every 7.6 milliseconds.
Yeah, something like that. Turn a corner and she screams.
But yeah, they both get their comeuppance from trying to get the Grail. Just keeping the tradition of villains in Indiana Jones movies just losing it
Never
so
learn.
much. No, they don't. They're just idiots. We do get more with Marcus this time, played by Denham Elliott. And just, I think, probably the funniest character in any of these movies. I absolutely love him in
how
this.
Indy just makes him sound like as if he's like some expert explorer. It's like, you'll never catch Marcus. He's 2 days ahead. And he just arrives, and I can't remember where it is, but he's like, hello, anyone speak English? He's just so lost.
I'd actually completely forgotten that Indy even admits that he was talking crap about the entire thing. For years, I actually remember it as he genuinely thought that Marcus knows exactly what he's doing, and in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, of course, Indy's talking garbage. Of course, he knows that he's going to lose. Like,
because he even says to his father, like, please, Marcus couldn't even find his way out of his museum. Like, what makes you think he's going to be able to navigate wherever the hell he's going to find the Grail?
I mean, then you've got to wonder, if he knows that he's going to get lost, why the hell does he agree to have him just tag along? Because I would have just left him at home, to be honest. I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, like, there's no short round in this one. You kind of have to have Marcus here instead. But no, I mean, I thoroughly enjoy him in this film. It's nice to see Salah back as well. So that means he's appeared in 1, 3, and 5. I just had to sigh at the last one because he's just a cab driver now. We've already mentioned with River Phoenix. I mean, in terms of favourite moments, it's just kind of impossible, to be honest.
Okay, it's impossible to say that there isn't one thing I don't like, because there isn't.
There's the chase in Venice, which is just thrilling, to be honest. There's I really appreciate this one shot of Indy essentially interrogating one of the guys chasing them, and while he's doing that, the sword. And the boat's getting smashed to pieces, like, and literally it's all in the same shot. And I'm sat there thinking, yeah, Harrison Ford's already putting his life on the line to interrogate this guy.
This is your last chance. And I think it's like Kazim is just literally like, whatever, my soul's ready. If I die, I die. Yeah, he doesn't actually go that northern. I should probably stress that.
Indiana Jones.
He puts a lot more emphasis into that. He's not really bothered about dying, essentially. He does not go in a Geordie accent.
It's like, nah, it's fine. What could possibly go wrong? Don't say that. The tank chase as well. I absolutely adore that. Again, go back to little moments, like even like the bit when Indy's like racing up the bank and the tank's going along, and he just hurls himself off. The
tank fight with Vogel, I think, is.
I miss action like this.
Probably one of the.
I love Vogel.
The best things in that film. It's just brilliant. I mean, from the moment he just jumps on the tank and it's just fisticuffs with this Nazi colonel, while he's getting like. You get that scene where obviously he's destroyed one of the tank guns and he's like hanging on, and Vogel's just like slowly like stamping on his fingers just to I love it how literally the only reason why Indy survived that scene is because Henry decides to just squirt out an ink pen, take that as what you will, and then a friggin' one of the tank crew shoots off a gun, and then the bullet ends up ricocheting off the ceiling and kills the driver. So the tank just steers away from the cliff face.
There is a lot of convenience with bullets. I mean, like, especially when Indy's able to shoot 3 Nazis with 1 bullet, and even he looks a bit bemused, just like, I didn't realize the gun could do this. I should have been using this the entire film. The 3 trials of the Grail as well. I've always really loved. Although I'm always confused with. I mean, I don't know my Hebrew very well. But I think it's the second one when it's like the name of God, and everyone else calls him. But then, it's supposed to be spelled with an I. For years, I was like, oh, Jesus. So his name is I Jehovah. So it's like iPod, iPhone, I Jehovah. Again, I didn't do it. No, actually, he comes later. But I didn't actually. But well, he doesn't come later. That's the whole point. Anyway, I don't know my Hebrew or all that, and I'll Google it later. But that's. I mean, that bit's always confused me for years, just because I couldn't be bothered to actually check what it actually means.
I only really clicked on it because of the subtitles. I say, but Jehovah in Latin is spelled with an I.
And you're like,
And then he just remembers as he nearly falls to his death. He's like, oh yeah.
It's like, no, Jay.
Oh dear.
Yes. Obviously, you've got the Grail Knight. I mean, I love that entire scene. I mean, I actually really love the fact that it's revealed that the Grail is just like a nondescript goblet that just looks dirty and withered and just...
Yeah, it's not going to be like the really fancy looking goblet. It's going to be the one that looks as if it was made by a...
Yeah, Donovan.
made by a carpenter with one arm.
I have always loved, actually, it's the how Indiana Jones on the Last Crusade should have ended. And they just talk to the Grail Knight and just really freak him out, and he just runs away to the point that he gets out the sail and then he just crumples into dust. I can't remember what they say to him to make him run away. I think it was something about wasting his life for 2,000 years. And I'm like, Jesus, the poor sod. Hasn't he suffered enough?
Hasn't he? I do like that bit with the knight, actually, because it's like, you look awful funny to be knights. It's like, man, you haven't seen the sun in the best part of like 500 freaking years.
Yeah, it's a very lonely existence doing that. I'm
What is he eating?
I mean,
Is my question.
I think he's just constantly drinking water.
Yeah, and dust. And
Holy
spiders.
water in this case. Dust, yeah, dust and what? I mean, I am sat there thinking, why didn't he just take it out and just run? Like, if he just like, you're clearly there to stop someone taking the Grail, so just blow the thing up.
Blow the thing up.
Just like hurl it into like a nuclear fire, or give it to the Nazis, and they'll probably kill themselves doing it anyway. You know, they'll treat it like the Ark. But yeah, that entire sequence I love. As I say, the demise of Donovan and Elsa is very fair, and even just riding off into the sunset.
Oh yeah, the wide shot with the sunset. Brilliant.
You know, when I was watching the credits, I didn't realise that they are running into the sunset for quite a long time, according to the credits. It's like,
Stephen, can we stop now? No, just keep riding.
I just feel sorry for the cameraman, where he's probably constantly having to sort of like edge the camera up a little bit higher as like the sun drops. Like, yeah, I can still get them. I can still get them. They're still there. Christ. It's like, how the hell are we going to call them back? They're miles away now. What about you? Is there any scenes that I've missed that you particularly enjoy?
The bit with the library when they're trying to find the entrance to the tomb.
I've heard so many people get angry with the fact that you have Indy, you know, it's like specifically speaking at the university about buried treasure.
X never marks the
spot.
X does mark the spot.
But they've absolutely earned... Well, I mean, they've absolutely earned the right to do that this time, because it's, you know, it was taken as a joke. Because, yeah, you're right, it never happens. And even he's like, X marks the spot.
Yeah, he's kind of crap.
Right, I've just lied to my students, and as it turns out. Or even just a sequence in that with the guy
freaking librarian,
books, and it's just conveniently...
He just puts it down, there's a loud crash, he just looks at the stamp like, what the hell?
What? I mean, like, what is this thing made out of? Is it like kryptonite or something?
I even like the little friggin' nod to Ark of the Covenant.
It's almost
cheap.
It
really is.
Very
it's like,
nearly.
Are you sure it's the Ark of the Covenant? Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. I was there, Elsa.
Why is there a timeline of events down here? I don't get why like a carving of the Ark of the Covenant is on the wall. Like, I really don't get it beyond, hey, look, we did that a couple of movies ago. People seem to like it. We'll just reference that again.
I just like all of the tomb scene, especially when it gets to the rats.
Yep, that is this week's version of a creepy crawly.
Rats.
Like, it's a big... You know, actually, all of a sudden, I'm trying to think. So this one has rats. Kingdom of Crystal Skull has ants. Temple of Doom has the insects. What was Raiders again?
Raiders.
That was, well, snakes.
Yeah, Raiders
were
was snakes because of the Well of Souls.
Which one is Dial of Destiny? Because I'm sure they've still got one. I want to say it's the eels in the completely superfluous scuba diving sequence.
I think probably the eels, yeah. I can't remember in all honesty, but then again, what is there to remember about the Dial of Y? Elsa's betrayal in Brunwald Castle.
That entire sequence where Harrison Ford proves that, you know what, if he wanted to be Scottish, he'd be brilliant as Scottish.
I'm here to look at tapestries.
Tapestries?
And I will not believe that you are a Scottish lord, if not that I am Mickey Mouse. How dare he, and just freaking knocks him out.
Oh, look, I've gone and caught a sniffle.
Even Elsa's in the back. I'm like, what the hell did I get into? The castle escape and the motorcycle chase as well. I mean, that bit with when they just, defeated all the Nazis on bikes, and they just get to the signpost, and they have like a little argument about which way they're going. It's like, he just starts looking at his compass, like really unamused.
I really have questions as to how the hell they found a street sign with one saying Berlin and the other saying Venice.
That's my question. I mean, that's got to be like...
It's probably hundreds of thousands of miles between
Yeah, I was going to say, there was no way in, like, freaking the Austrian-German border that there is a signpost with Berlin and that on it. It's got to be something a set made. It has to be, absolutely.
They just sort of ride down the road and like, oh yeah, we're here finally at Convenience
Corner, yeah. The biplane fight as well.
Oh,
Brilliant.
I love that one.
I'm sorry, son. They got us.
Like you are absolutely bullshitting your way through this entire story, Henry, and I love this. It's like it was someone else, it wasn't me.
I mean, it is ridiculously over the top, but when they get to when they get chased by the bike with the what I'm assuming is I don't know plane names, but basically you get like one of the pilots chasing the car down from the farm to the tunnel, and he just decides to stupidly go into the tunnel. Like, what did you expect was going to happen? Or that, well, actually, Vogel's come up in his stupid little tank, because that's what he gets.
Oh, I love the tank.
That's what he gets for being a Nazi in a tank.
And then falls out of the tank. Whereas if he was just a Nazi without a tank, it would have been a very different ending.
Obviously, the path towards the Grail and the traps, brill. I'm really curious. You know that scene when they send just one of the, what I'm assuming just one of their lackeys in, and you see like a severed head, but honestly, this scene, the guy gets his head cut off through the saw, and it does like the perfect amount of rules. I wonder how many takes that took to get it perfect, because it feels like it must have taken a while to get it to roll that good, because it is honestly like a bowling ball. It is so perfect.
Yeah, I can imagine sometimes it probably hit one of the actors, probably hit Sean Connery while he's lying down, just like, okay, a head, hello.
Like, I can honestly imagine it would have taken a few takes, if not several hundred takes.
And of course, the bird scene.
It's so unexpected.
I just love Indy's reaction. Well, yeah, because I love Indy's reaction when he's just sort of like looking at him, just like, he could have done this entire time, and he's just been talking smack about me.
He's just been running me down into the ground, and he goes and does this. Who is the one who is insane now, Dad? Mm-hmm. Who is the one?
Oh, and there's no ticket as well. I love that scene. Ticket, please. I love it.
No ticket. No, just ticket.
It's like, right, fine, there you go.
They'll just start screaming.
It took us a few rewatches to realise that Henry's also reading the newspaper.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Like, it is like the classic thing
like he's
to make
doing
you
that
look
deliberately.
inconspicuous, but that was the thing that I would like notice the most. Like, that guy is totally not being inconspicuous with his upside down newspaper. He is obviously not the guy we're looking for.
Well, I mean, they even make a joke about that as well, where like they arrive at the station and there's two people with newspapers right over the face, but it's not even them that just come down the stairs.
I actually thought it was them at first. I'm like, oh, it's actually not.
I actually assumed it was them as well, but I thought that's too bordering on parody, to be honest, even by my standards. Even by my standards. To be honest, just in general, the idea of having the Holy Grail as the MacGuffin, again, is like another tie to the Ark of the Covenant. It's like another thing that's pretty biblical. As I say, just as a MacGuffin, I do really like it. But obviously then the question is, what if it wasn't the Holy Grail? What if instead, yes, we're back. What if instead it was Indiana Jones on the quest for the quirky Grail?
Okay.
The quirky Grail. We are, of course, going back to our, we started doing this last week, where it's now our AI prompt showdown, where me and Dan have decided, yeah, you know what, we're going to pitch a different version of Indiana Jones and the whatever into ChatGPT, and we're going to see which one is the funnier one. Now, I gave Dan the option to go first last time. I'm going to do the same again because I'm feeling nice this week.
It's probably a bad idea.
Well, because then it might mean that yours is by default better than mine. Because mine doesn't actually have any food-related thing this time.
I mean,
Oh, does that mean that yours does? Crap.
This is Indiana Jones and the Mystic Cucumber.
Oh, Jesus.
Our hero's face.
Oh, how many jokes is there going to be?
Henry Jones Sr. is sick, and the only way to cure his affliction is by creating the ultimate salad with the healing powers of the mystic rumored cucumber. Yeah, as in mystic rumored cucumber, so yeah, blame ChatGPT for that. Rumored to be deep within the ruin of the tropical jungles of South Africa. As they journey through the ancient ruin, the treacherous corridors are not only filled with deadly traps, but also inhabited by feral fruit and vegetable store owners who fiercely guard their territory.
What?
These inhabitants, once ordinary merchants, have been transformed by the mystical powers emanating from the mystic cucumber. Now they roam the ruins as savage guardians, fiercely protecting their precious bounty. Indiana and Henry must navigate past these formidable foes, using their wits and ingenuity, well, to outmaneuver them. Mm-hmm. Along the way, they uncover the tragic backstory of the fruit and vegetable store owners, revealing the dark consequences of meddling with ancient artifacts. Well, the message so far is you shouldn't be a bloody fruit and vegetable store owner then, shouldn't you?
Yeah, clearly.
Despite the danger posed by these feral guardians, Indiana and Henry press on, determined to reach their goal and save Henry Sr. from his affliction. These encounters with the fruit and vegetable store owners add an extra layer of tension and suspense to their already perilous journey.
Oh, I bet they do.
Testing their resolve like never before. Oh god, here we go. After defeating the giant broccoli guardian at the centre of the ruin, Indiana Jones and Henry Sr. face another daunting challenge, navigating the secret path known as the Path of the Sacred Lettuce Leaf. The hidden route leads to the coveted Mystic Cucumber, a legendary artifact rumoured to hold even greater healing powers. As they venture deeper into the ruins, Indiana and Henry encounter a series of obstacles, from giant swinging eggplants to threaten them to knock them off their balance, while lethal carrot spikes line the narrow path, forcing them to tread carefully. To make matters worse, a colossal cauliflower boulder looms overhead, threatening to crush them if they make a wrong move.
Oh my god.
With adrenaline pumping and their survival instincts kicking in, Indiana and Henry must rely on their quick reflexes and teamwork. Well, I've already got questions there. Henry's feckin' 80. And teamwork to navigate the perilous They dodge swinging eggplants, carefully manoeuvre around the carrot spikes, and narrowly evade the giant cauliflower boulder as it crashes down behind them. As they reach the end of the Path of the Sacred Lettuce Leaf, Indiana and Henry finally lay eyes on the legendary Mystic Cucumber. With a sense of awe and determination, they approach the artifact, knowing that it holds the key to saving Henry Sr. from his affliction. The journey through the secret path tests their courage and resilience like never before, but Indiana and Henry emerge triumphant, one step closer to their ultimate goal. With the Mystic Cucumber in their possession, they continue their quest with renewed determination, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. In the end, Indiana and Henry emerge victorious, having overcome both physical and emotional obstacles to obtain the Mystic Cucumber and craft the life-saving salad. Their encounter with the fruit and vegetable store owners and the broccoli guardians serves as a pungent reminder of the power and peril of seeking out ancient mysterious artifacts. Finn.
Jesus. So once again, this is just... So this is just cloudy with a chance of meatballs and fedoras.
Yeah, basically.
What is it with ChatGPT and his frank obsession with that film? I mean, yeah, it's great. Don't get me wrong, it's a great film, but why is it always food? I mean, luckily for me, I specified I don't want it to be food, so it's fine this time because it isn't.
Oh,
Here we go.
Yeah,
Are you ready,
I'm
Dan?
ready.
Yep, are you ready for Indiana Jones and the quest for the quirky grail? Now, for some reason, this one does actually have a bit of casting.
Oh, does it now?
I'm not going to say Indiana Jones until the end, because it doesn't really work. But hey-ho. So, we see Indiana Jones in his archaeologist gear, stumbling through a jungle, swatting at imaginary bugs, and getting tangled in vines. He's muttering to himself about how he's going to find the Holy Grail this time for sure, but he's not entirely sure why he wants it. So he's gone a bit senile on this one. This is probably in the actual version of Indiana Jones 5. He's just completely lost the plot. So, Indiana Jones is reluctantly pulled into another adventure when he receives a mysterious letter from an old colleague claiming to have discovered the location of the Holy Grail. Despite his initial reluctance, Jones decides to embark on the quest, fueled by the promise of fame and fortune. So Jones.
I didn't realise Sean Connery's narrating this.
Jones's arch nemesis, Dr. Snidely McEvil.
Dr. Snidely McEvil.
McEvil. Played by Danny DeVito. That's an interesting... It's the fucking penguin.
Oh god.
Is also on the hunt for the Holy Grail. McEvil, a bumbling yet devious archaeologist, will stop at nothing to beat Jones to the prize. He's accompanied by his equally incompetent sidekick, a talking parrot named Polly, voiced by Gilbert Gottfried. I don't know who that is. Who's Gilbert Gottfried? I didn't bother to Google this.
I know him
Sounds
more
like an
for the
idiot.
voice more than anything. Like his voice, I know him for.
Jones travels to various exotic locations, encountering ridiculous obstacles along the way. From dodging booby traps in a chocolate factory, to navigating a maze of giant rubber bands in a warehouse full of office supplies, each challenge pushes Jones to his limits. Rubber band
I'm more
factory.
concerned as to why he's just made a sudden appearance in Charlie and the frickin' Chocolate Factory.
Because I think
Is
that
he
would...
the one who pushed Augustus
Just take
into
out
the
Willy
Chocolate
Wonka.
River? Is he the one who did this?
Yes. It was always Harrison Ford.
Out of the
He
way,
just
I'm busy.
pops up in the corner, like, you push. Yeah. So, when Jones finally reaches the hidden temple where the Holy Grail is said to be located, he discovers that it's not the ornate chalice he expected, but rather a quirky novelty mug shaped like a flamingo wearing sunglasses.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Despite its absurd appearance, Jones realizes that the true value of the Grail lies in the friendships he's made and the adventures he had along the way. What's that got to do with a fucking flamingo?
I don't know, maybe it was Polly's idea?
I know, like I'm swearing again, but... So the final showdown. In a climactic battle, Jones faces off against Dr. McEvil and Polly in a slapstick-filled showdown. I don't think he's going to lose to the parrot, to be
Yeah.
honest, if he loses to the parrot. After a series of comically absurd mishaps, Joan emerges victorious with the quirky grail in hand. Joan returns home, the quirky grail proudly displayed on his mantle. As he kicks back with a cold beverage, he reflects on the absurdity of his adventures and the joy of living life to the fullest, no matter how silly it may seem. And in the end credits, there's not like a post-credit scene, it's fine. It just does that thing that most comedy films do, where it's just bloopers and outtakes featuring the person actually playing Indiana Jones in this, and it's not actually Harrison Ford, it's Adam Sandler.
Oh, God.
For some reason they thought Adam Sandler... Yeah, and the rest of the cast goofing off on set, accompanied by a catchy soundtrack performed by an orchestra of kazoos.
Well, then.
So we've got a crappy Adam Sandler comedy, or just Adam Sandler stuff. Or we've got Cloudy with a chance of hats and meatballs.
It's not cloudy with a chance of... It's not even cloudy with a chance, it's just cloudy with.
Cloudy with hats and
Yeah.
meatballs. Yeah. Would you like to decide which one is the funnier one or the most absurd?
Well, I somehow think they're going after a freaking mystic cucumber in the middle of South Africa while avoiding feral fruit and vegetable owners is somewhat more outlandish than just anything Adam Sandler has ever done.
I'm more questioning, can you actually grow a cucumber in South Africa?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either. I'm not the person.
I don't know. I didn't come up with this.
Yeah. So we'll say that once again, Dan has won the absurd AI prompt competition that we keep on doing every week. We'll see if this continues.
What the hell are we gonna do for freaking Dead Space?
Spoilers, Dan. We'll get that in a couple of minutes. And next week. But yeah, that does actually nicely wrap up our thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and how we cannot write an Indiana Jones film. Well, the computers can't do it.
And how we just wouldn't do a very good job of Indiana Jones, because if we were Indiana Jones, it probably would end in about 5 minutes, if not less.
Yeah, we kind of stopped doing that because we realised that, yeah, the films would just end within
See, you know
seconds,
that particular scene in
if
the
not
library
minutes?
when they go down into the tomb with all the rats? I'd just get distracted and pet all the rats. It's like, do you want to get the grill? Tickle the rats.
So in this particular version of the film, so you're replacing Elsa, obviously. So there's going to be an end credit scene after they rode off into the sunset, and it just goes back into the tomb, and you're still there petting every single rat. It's like, finally, I've reached the end. Right, where we?
Like half the friggin' tomb's on fire, and I'm just sitting in a pool of rats, just petting rats.
But yeah, that covers our thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So I do hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for listening to us as we go over one of our favourite franchises. After we already spoke about the Wilderness, you're never going to talk about it again. Crap. And no, we're not talking about the fourth one. Not unless Dan forces me to do that.
I mean, we could do a mini-sode on it. I think we kind of obligated to now because we've covered every other Indiana Jones film but that.
But I don't want to.
But I don't want to.
But I don't want to, Dan. Even though it's
Yeah, I
better
was
than the
gonna say,
last one.
As Henry Sr. says, well, why are you complaining then?
Oh god. But yeah, as Dan mentioned a couple of minutes ago, we will be covering Dead Space next week, specifically the remake that came out last year, because both of us have been playing it. One of us is deeply frustrated by it, and he's going to discuss that after we finish recording, because I've got some things to say before we say some more things next week. But you can look forward to us returning to the world of video games next week as Dan starts to lose his mind again. But anyway, thank you very much for listening as ever, and we'll see you next week. And until then, it's goodbye from Grail Knight Dan.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.